Hi everyone, welcome. Ryan here from the London Craftsman channel. How are you? Today's video is all about oiling, and in particular we're going to be using the Osmo Oil Clear. And as you can see behind us, we've got a ton of birch. We've been on a wardrobe, a Birch Ply wardrobe, for about 7 or 8 days, and we're coming to the end of it now. So we've got about 10 or so components left to oil. So I have covered oiling before in a previous video. I'll leave a little link up the top if you want to see that. I'm showing you 3 methods to oil a shaker style door using the roller, brush and a cloth. Today we're just using a cloth. We find a cloth the easiest method and the most efficient way of doing so without going through tons of oil. It's our go-to method really. So today is all about showing you that method. Going to be showing you the color change with this particular oil that we're using. And why I think it's a perfect finish to use for Birch Ply to show off that lovely grain. So if that floats your boat, you want to find out more, but stay tuned, watch to the end, and I hope you enjoy. Right, so let me give you an overview of what we're doing. Everything that you can see around us is part of one job. It's a pretty big job. It's got 10 doors, 5 long doors at the bottom and 5 upper doors. It's also got a window seat and a flap on the window seat. Inside the wardrobe, there's lots of drawers, a couple of adjustable shelves and some hanging. So we've selected the best birch for this job. We've cut up the job, we've machined it, we've matched the grain as best as possible, especially with the doors. The doors are up there waiting to be oiled. So they're the long doors and they are the short doors. So these are the upper ones, these are the lower ones. And we have picked and chosen the best grain up or the best grain to be seen. For example, if it's a shelf that is right up the top, an upper shelf, then we're selecting the best grain to be facing down, etc, etc. Anything that's covered, we've picked the least favorite grain not to be seen. So I wanted to mention that because when you do look at Birch Ply without it being oiled, it generally looks really nice and consistent, most sheets that you get. But just be aware that when you do oil, it does bring out any imperfections. So when you buy birch, sometimes you buy it and it's got roller marks in it from the factory. Don't know why, it's just the flaw in some of the production, I guess. As you can see here, we've got a tiny little line going across. There's nothing you can do about that. If you've got one of those, it's not going to come out for love nor money. We use 120 and 240 and we really go to town on it to bring up the grain and to smooth it out. And it just doesn't come out. So be aware of that. So when you do oil, especially with the oil that we're using right now to give this lovely birch color, then be aware that anything like a different tone in the board or a knot or a roller mark is going to stand out. I'll give you an example. So a couple of pieces here. Remember, these are basically bits that you generally don't see. So it's going to be like the bottom of a carcass where there's going to be a drawer above. So don't worry about that. But you can just see before we oiled, it didn't look like this, okay? It looked pretty consistent, but as soon as you put that oil on, it highlights. This is a finished piece, by the way. All of these are. And that's one thing I did want to mention. One other thing I do want to say is if you go for like a dark color, like an ebony or a antique oak or something like that, it's less susceptible to seeing the different tones when it comes to birch with the oils. For some reason, when you're using the clear, it is a lot more fussy and it does pull up those bits and pieces that you need to be aware of, like changing tone as you apply the oil. So be aware of that before you do start. What we are using is this. We use Osmo a lot. We like Osmo. It's very hard wearing. And what we are using is the polyx oil, solid. And it's 3032 clear and it's a satin finish. So the satin finish, I'm guessing, is just the sheen that it leaves. You can get a matte, so it's less shiny. The satin gives a very slight sheen once it's finished. bit like paints. You've got matte, silk, satin, eggshell, don't you? Not in that particular order, but yeah, we go for this because it's a nice medium to go for. Right, so what we're doing is we're just putting in these little cups, these little plastic cups. We just fill them up halfway. We have one each. We put rubber mats down on the bench just to cover our bench, and we have 3 cloths. The reason we have 3, we go through a 3 cloth system. So we apply it with one. It's generally a relatively small one that we fold nicely like so. Easy to dip in your pot, and yeah, easy to hold. We've then got another cloth to sort of half buffer it off, because when you put it on, you do see quite a lot of, not liquid, but there's quite a lot to buffer off. And then we go for the 3rd cloth just to get rid of any remaining residues, to make it nice and smooth. You could just go for an applying cloth and then a buffer cloth, but we find that it clogs up, and we go through quite a lot of cloths if we do it that way. The buffering cloth just fills up with oil quite quickly. So the 3 cloth system works for us. I do want to mention how hard wearing this is. We have oiled the entire face and framework of our workbench with Osmo. I think we used raw this time, so it didn't give the wet look. It looked of more of a lighter colour. And we've been opening and closing these drawers with our fingers for 2 years now, and look how clean they are. So this is what I mean by it's hard wearing. It doesn't take a fingerprint very well. It stays nice and clean, and it's very durable. And that is why we opt for the Osmo. We've got no reason to change to anything else. It's relatively cheap compared to the bigger names out there. For like a 3 litre tub of this, sometimes you get deals from Wood Finish Direct, I believe. It might be about £80. You get a deal where you get 3 litres for the price of 2.5. Goes such a long way. As you can see, it's an old tin, and it's been going for a couple of years now. I'll give you an example. This is what we're doing right now. All of these components, quite a lot. It's 3.5 long, 2.5 tall. We've got 10 doors, we've got 6 drawers. And I wouldn't say it would use any more than about a litre, if that. Maybe a cup and a half, 2 cups of this is all you would need. And these cups hold about 500 mils. So yeah, I'd say about 2 cups is probably what you'd use. You only need to apply 1 coat of this, okay? With the colours, if you go for tinted versions, I believe, then you can put 1 on, and if you want to go darker, you apply another one, and it just changes the tone of the colour. But with the polyx oil, the clear coat, you only need to apply 1. And it's perfect for interior wardrobes, really, really heavy duty, really, really hard wearing. Okay, so let's get on with the way we apply it. So first of all, we use gloves all the time. We've got these vinyl gloves. We use vinyl, large size, and they seem to work quite well. Remember to like if you like the video, if you think our content is cool and you've learned something from it, leave a comment, let us know where we're going right or where we're going wrong, and ultimately subscribe. Subscribing means a lot to us because we're only a small channel and we like to grow it. We're trying to get to 50,000 subs by the end of this year. So any subscribers, thank you very much for your support. So I wanted to show you the difference between the two using this Osmo. On the left is oiled and on the right isn't, so it gives it the wet look. And you can see how the grain really comes out with this oil on birch. On that one, you can't really see any grain. It just looks like one colour, and here you could just see all the gnarly bits of the grain. Looks really, really nice. I especially like the difference in the edges, and this is what appeals to me with Birch Ply. 99% of my furniture in my house is Birch Ply, all my doors, wardrobes, lots of things, my worktops in the kitchen, they're on edge birch, and you can just see the difference. It really, really does bring out those stripes when you oil them. It looks really, really nice. Right, so let's talk about how we apply the oil. But before I do, I want to show you the actual cloths that we use. You've probably seen these before. I got a good few rolls of these from when my dad used to work in a workshop, in a garage, mechanic's garage. And he had about 20 or 30 of these left over, already cleaned. You get them out of the toilets, you probably know the ones. And you wipe your hands on them, and then the company takes them away and cleans them and brings them back. And you're probably saying, well, they're blue. Isn't the blue going to come through? And the answer is no. We've been using these for a long, long time. We've got stripy ones over there. We've got solid blue ones over there. And they're made out of cotton. So it's a perfect material. And because the colour doesn't come through on the grain and they're really, really tough, they're quite thick. They go on for ages. You could probably do a whole job with just one set of these. Obviously, using a lint-free cloth is the method that everyone else would use. We did use lint-free cloths back in the day, then we ran out, but they're stupidly expensive for what they are. And you go through them quite fast. And we didn't have any one day, so we thought, what can we use? And we tried these and they worked. So if anyone wants like a couple of 100 meters on a roll that lasts forever and ever, then use these. We use them for other bits, wiping the hands on, from the spray room to wiping surfaces down. Lots of other applications you can use these for, so they go a long way. So the sanding process on these are P120 and P240 on the faces. On the edges, we did a stacking technique on these. So we stacked up the whole pile and we went through with the orbital with P80, 120 and 240 and take off those arises either with a 1.6mm radius cutter or a Hongdui chamfer plane. See my last video if you want to see the comparing of those. And then we swipe the arises with 240 and we're ready to oil. Right, so Sean's just about to get onto the second half of this door now. And what he's doing is he's just dipping it in. He's just gonna then apply it very liberally over a large area, probably like a square foot, a little bit more. He breaks the door down into a certain amount of pieces. He doesn't try and do the whole lot in one. So that way you don't get any missed patches or anything like that. And the reason he dots it around is because he's trying to spread that thick oil as far as it can go. If he just applied that whole oil in one place and then just tried to spread it over and over and over, it's just really, really hard work. As you can see, he's just applying that nicely. So I did talk about the differences between roller, brush and rag in another video where I applied it on oak veneer on a shaker style door. Yeah, there are pros and cons for all of those techniques, but we just find that the cloth works really, really well. It takes a little bit longer to apply using the cloth. With the roller, it's a lot quicker. The brush is generally only to go into little corners and nooks and crannies, but with the roller, the gloss roller, it does put it on a lot quicker, and you can probably speed up your workflow by at least half. You do then go through double the amount of oil. So one of these doors would probably take 10 minutes to complete, both faces, probably 5 minutes per face. In the minute I've just been filming just there, Sean's just done maybe just over a quarter of the door. So he's put that on with the applying cloth. Then he's gonna go around and just take off any of the leftover residues with a middle cloth, just so he doesn't clog up the last buffering cloth. And now he's just gonna go ahead and just buffer and not use too much weight on the cloth, and whenever it feels nice and smooth, that is a sign of when it's nice and buffered off. So there we go, Sean's just finishing this door off and it looks really, really nice. Remember, as you're oiling, look in the lights and you'll see any bits that are missing or any dry spots, and that's a way to know if you've covered all the grain, because looking from the top, you don't really notice it. If you're looking from the side, you notice any dry spots. So there we go, job nearly complete. We've got those doors left to do. Got those sides and trims to do, and we got these two backings to do. So we're nearly there, and we'll be fitting this job very, very soon. Hopefully there'll be a video of this being fitted and a video of this in construction, because I did get footage of all of this being built. So there you go, guys. I hope that helped. I did film this a moment ago and I did a whole 20-minute footage of what I just showed you, and it was spot on. And I looked at the footage and the audio was all over the place. So I was like, I've got to make it again. So anyway, second take, I hope it's come out well and you've taken something away from it. Remember, we use a cloth because it's a lot more economical. Remember to select your grains before you do. The oil that we're using is an Osmo polyx oil. It's a 3032 satin finish. Remember, the satin is the actual sheen. We're using the 3-cloth system, one for applying, one for taking the excess off, and one for buffering. And that is all I need to say. Yeah. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed, guys. I'll see you next Sunday for another video. Take it easy. Ciao for now.